Et donc, on va commencer justement avec Florian Lützen, Lützen, voilà, qui va parler d'Ibn ʿAjība, qui est effectivement un des maîtres les plus connus. Et c'est vrai que le témoignage qu'il a laissé de la manière dont justement il a tout abandonné, hein, son statut d'imam et de professeur pour, euh, euh, pour se vêtir de l'habit rapiécé et aller mendier est assez exceptionnel. Voilà. Donc, si j'ai bien compris, c'est 20 minutes, c'est ça?
Yeah, we'll see. 20, 25 minutes.
25 minutes?
Yes,
OK.
yes. But we have a problem with the presentation, which is in keynote, and is not. I'm trying to. I don't know how to do it. How can I just change the screen? Non, non, bah, il faudrait que je trouve comment brancher son... Lui à ça. Non, non, mais c'est pas une question d'adaptateur. Ça va pas marcher, mais on va faire comme ça. C'est qu'à la maison, ils vont pas le voir. Donc maintenant, il faut que j'arrive. Ok, c'est bon, on va laisser comme ça. Merci. Technique. On est bon, oui. Floor is yours.
Uh, well, thank you for the invitation. Thanks to all the organizers. It's a great honor to speak here at the Inalco Institute. It's a very nice institute at a very prestigious site. Thank you for the invitation. And secondly, I feel a little bit sad not to be able to speak to you in French. On the other hand, I will not be torturing you with my French. So I hope this evens it out a little bit. What I'm presenting today is sort of an essence or a substrata of my research on the scholar Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība. I completed my PhD on this topic in 2018, so it's a while ago. And also I was always, of course, forced to reduce myself to a certain topic, and I chose, because it suits the Darqāwiyya, an incident which includes the imprisonment of Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība and his brother and some others for some days only, but it showcases how Ibn ʿAjība was one of the voices of the Shādhiliyya at his time, running under the name Darqāwiyya, because of the famous Mawlaya al-Arabiya Darqāwi, of course. I will get into this later. So it's only a snippet due to the time of my research and focused on the ties to the Darqāwiyya. Yes, who is or was Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība? Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība was a scholar from the area of Tetuan, from the Bani Anjira, and he completed his studies with a number of scholars. Famous the usual scholars which are named in this respect are As-Samlali, Al-Qurrish, Al-Janwi, but especially one name sticks out, and that is At-Tawri ibn Suda, Shaykh al-Jama'ah in Fas, a very prominent scholar, also the teacher of Al-Murtada Azabidi, but this is another chapter. So he was the disciple of a very famous scholar, and he was supposed to become a famous and prestigious scholar. That he was asked to become a judge, or this was at least this was his career path his surroundings, his companions and colleagues had planned for him. But when he was already in his 40s, his life changed. He became, let's not say he became bored, but he was reluctant in teaching. He was already an accomplished teacher. He had gotten his licenses from Ataudi ibn Suda, so he was a respected scholar. There was nothing in the way to become a scholar or a judge or both, and so on and so forth. But he felt reluctant. He felt absent from his lectures in the zawiyas and the mosques in Tetuan, where he mainly taught. And so he met his sheikh for the first time in Sufism on the way to Fez when he was, from Fez back home to Tetuan, if I remember correctly, when he was visiting Ataud ibn Suda, and he was returning home, and then suddenly somebody invited him to meet Muhammad al-Buzidi and al-Arabi al-Darqāwiyya. So he met them, and it changed him, and he found a new interest in the religious sciences, or Islamic theology, as we call it as well, at least in Germany, usually. Jean-Louis Michon has already pointed to the fact that we should not make the mistake of calling this a transformation from scholar to Sufi, but rather we should say scholar to Sufi scholar. I think this is very precise and a very good observation. And this is what I will also be talking about, and which is a very good intro to my following points. As I said, I will reduce my talk today to the example of a socio-political and scholar dispute which happened in 1794 in front of the governor of Tetuan, but more to this later. I will not be able to speak on the whole picture, how he did this in the religious sciences in his work that he combined between practical Sufism and his scholarship. Why did I choose the title, the scholar or Faqīh and scholar and voice of the Shādhiliyya? Well, both go back to observations. Both words go back to observations, not only mine, but other people, because the term Faqīh, the Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība, appears in a number of instances. The first one which sticks out is in his autobiography. He writes in his autobiography the following: "One day during a long dream, I saw the Prophet in his holy mosque. He said to me, 'You are the Faqīh, the jurist, Ibn ʿAjība?' 'Yes, I am your servant, Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība.' He replied. The Prophet said to me, 'You are my child in truth, do not doubt it.'" So this is his own recount. In one of the books, we encounter this phrasing of the Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība. But this is not the only instance we meet this term. Before I go to this, I'm sorry for the lengthy paragraph, which I'll be reading out in a second, but before this, I will speak a little bit about what happened in the meantime. So after he converted, in quotation marks, to Sufism, what happened then? He met his sheikh, and he eventually picked up the Sufi path, which meant in his time that the disciple will surrender to the will of the sheikh, in modern speak, 100%. And this manifested in brooming the marketplace. So Ibn ʿAjība, as known as he was, because he was also preaching before so Friday sermons and so on. He now started suddenly showing up at the marketplace and cleaning the marketplace with a broom. He sold water because his master told him to do so at the marketplace. And he begged at the mosque in which he was preaching before. We can simply say that imagine a prestigious professor today decides not to teach anymore at the university and become a beggar and appear as a beggar, not only in appearance, but really appear as a beggar. And he himself said, before he did this the first time, this really broke my heart because this was unimaginable. He couldn't do it. And he was only convinced by the stories of his, let's call him forefathers, or what he considered his predecessors. So he did it, and a couple of years later, he then was allowed to invite the people to the path of God. This is how he phrased it himself. Now I will read the quote here. After a year, a year after he began following the Sufi path as a disciple, his master Al-Buzidi declared him capable of speaking to the people. This is around 1794. He granted him permission to go out, remind the servants of God, and teach them the practices of the Sufis, Awrad. Ibn ʿAjība then set out with a group of followers, inviting people to the Sufi path, which happened from 1794 to 98. He traveled from village to village and from city to city, and in most cases, many people adopted the Darqāwiyya path. According to Ibn ʿAjība, the number of new followers in some villages ranged from 40 to 120 individuals. Eventually, Ibn ʿAjība's journey became widely known due to the large number of people responding to his call. The prefect of Tanja, even wrote to Mawlay Sulaiman, the Sultan at the time, informing him that a man called Al-Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība was traveling the land and converting everyone to Sufism. However, the ruler was, at that time, not displeased by this. On the contrary, he expressed his approval. So here we encounter the term Al-Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība again. What does it mean if somebody says that in a letter who is not part of the Darqāwiyya movement? What does this mean? Please hold on for a second so we can answer the question properly. Eventually, he travels back home to the Bani Anjira, passing several villages. During this journey, he visits approximately 30 villages, but he was at this point welcomed heartily. The second journey, however, was not the same as the first journey. Shortly afterward, he embarks on a second journey, again inviting people to the Sufi path with the same goal, but this time he is not welcomed in every village. Even they throw stones at him and his followers. And so there seems to have been some turmoil around him or his persona or the Darqāwiyya in general. And in 1209 or 1794, at the end this year, an incident occurs due to the unrest caused by the spread of the Darqāwiyya Sufi order, also through the aforementioned efforts of Ibn ʿAjība. This lasts only a few days, but it is very influential. The historical records usually mention this incident, although the only one who really has written about this is Ibn ʿAjība himself. So most of the sources rely on Ibn ʿAjība's own account. The others seem not to have felt the urge or the need to mention this incident lengthy. So we have to mainly have to stick to Ibn ʿAjība's own report. This incident lasts only a few days. In this incident, he is imprisoned along with his brother and some other people, and a short tribunal follows, and which is also accompanied by monetary repression, but also they were beaten by representatives probably of the government, and their houses burned down as well, which he keeps silent on, strangely. But this happened. We can be pretty sure that it happened. This is another question. Before I go further, we should keep in mind that this was a difficult time. It was a time, it was during the famous French Revolution, and Morocco was under pressure. So the historical Morocco was under pressure. European forces needed to be controlled or countered by the government, and the Ottomans were waiting in the east, so to speak. It wasn't an easy time for the society as a whole. And some sources phrase it like this: now we have all this trouble. So there's one politician, let's call him, who says, now we have all these troubles from outside, and these people come along, the Darqāwiyyas, and try to convert everybody to Sufism. So it is kind of, from the perspective of the politicians, it's kind of the wrong time to convert everybody to Sufism. You could say, this could be argued for. And this is the circumstances. These are the circumstances. Now he is imprisoned. Interestingly, it wasn't him who was charged with anything. Charge was his brother. The charge was simply that his brother was supposedly to have been involved in some bad conduct, there was no crime committed. That's for sure. It's only about bad conduct. And then they imprison him, the brother, Hashim. He's called Hashim Ibn ʿAjība. And as soon as Aḥmad Ibn ʿAjība, so Ahmed hears this, he follows him into prison. And subsequently, after a very short period of time, a tribunal starts, which means the governor of Tetuan, Asridi is called, brings together scholars and influential people, the nobles of the city of Tetuan, and but also scholars who support him come. Here it should be noted that the charge and the scale of the tribunal is very different from each other. What has misconduct in society to do with a lot of scholars and nobles? Probably nothing, but this suggests that it was in fact a false pretense or a welcome opportunity to undermine the Darqāwiyya movement, undermine or at least to put a stop to Ibn ʿAjība's activities, which were to invite the people to the path of God, as he called it, to the Darqāwiyya. But why was this problematic? Why put Ibn ʿAjība on trial, so to speak, publicly? Here we have to remember he is called in an official letter the Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība. And these are the circumstances. He's a member of the scholarly circles. So he has the prestige of a professor, of somebody who is learned, who can speak from the tradition. He can speak for religion, so to speak. And if somebody who has no knowledge, who has no prestige, goes around and invites people to the Sufi path, this is something, but the prestige and the turmoil, the imbalance which can occur is a problem, or can be a problem. This is why probably this incident even occurred in this way, and it was most probably unjust, and the silence in the sources other than Ibn ʿAjība's is probably due to this fact that is very obvious. It was an attempt to stop the activities of Ibn ʿAjība and the Darqāwiyya as a whole, or at least to hinder them from doing what they were doing on this scale. Others, Al-Makudi and the son of Al-Kuhin, Abdul Qadir, later gave their own accounts of the events, although they mostly confirm what Ibn ʿAjība wrote, and they are as well friends with him. He's also wrote about this, but it's very similar. They only express their support. Also, concerning Al-Arabi al-Darqāwi himself, a letter from the master Al-Arabi al-Darqāwi has also been preserved, addressed, as the title indicates, to the brothers who were imprisoned in Tetuan. In it, he urges them, among other things, to remain patient in enduring trials, to show kindness to others, to entrust their hearts to God, and to remember the prophets who endured similar ordeals. So this is a 2 pages long letter. It is preserved, and so we have there a very direct involvement of Darqāwi himself. If you may have wondered why Al-Buzidi was his master in Sufism. Well, this was on the this was what Darqāwi himself declared, that he will not be himself will not be teaching Ibn ʿAjība, but Al-Buzidi will teach him. We are coming to an end. In the eyes of some scholars, Ibn ʿAjība was between 2 stools. He was a prestigious scholar, but also a Sufi scholar. But from the perspective of the Darqāwiyya, he was exactly where he needed to be. So he was a bridge. He was able to bridge the controversies and to answer difficult questions. In a certain sense, I will read here from the second bullet point. In a certain sense, Ibn ʿAjība became the spearhead of the movement. It has been noted that essentially Ibn ʿAjība played for a Darqāwi the same role as a Secondary played for a Shādhiliyya. The power of lived faith was made accessible through a literary talent, unleashing the new potential. Be that as it may, Ibn ʿAjība was a special figure to both sheikhs, Darqāwi and Al-Buzidi. Darqāwi mentions and praises Ibn ʿAjība by name in his letters. So we can discuss if this is a unique phenomenon or not. I don't think so. This has happened in history a number of times. I believe there are other examples coming to mind that a charismatic person inspires a scholar who becomes the spearhead of a movement. I think without any romanticization of the occurrences, it's an interesting note we can at least recognize. I think this is not disputed. To sum up this point, his persona was a perceived breach of the establishment order. He was simultaneously a jurist and a Sufi. Among the authorities, he continued to be referred to as Al-Faqīh Ibn ʿAjība, despite his active promotion for the Sufi path, and he, of course, remained respected as a scholar within the Darqāwi order. Now, to come to an end, I have only 1 or 2 minutes. I will speak a little bit about Ahmed Zarruq, mentioned as well. Why was it a topic? What was discussed on the trial of Ibn ʿAjība? this is very interesting, and it is very telling. So during the trial, the scholars criticized the Darqāwiyya for wearing these difficult clothes, rags, and big sibhas, so big rosaries. They criticized them, the Darqāwiyya, for this. The strange thing is that Ahmad Zarruq did not himself condemn this. So these people considered themselves in the tradition of Zarruq, but they had suddenly problems with this practice. This is kind of telling. So it was the details of Islamic theology were used against them. And also we have to admit that not everybody, or we have to recognize that not everybody was against him. Atawadi Ibn Suda did not speak about against him. On the contrary, Ibn Suda supported him. But we should not mistaken this for a simple intellectual debate. There's some controversy surrounding Zarruq in the time of Ibn ʿAjība. So in a very few, a couple of, let's say, instances, Ibn ʿAjība criticizes Ahmed Zarruq, or it seems to be criticism. So he doesn't directly do it, but he, and this is my understanding, I'm also quoting from my PhD, but rather the way some contemporary and earlier scholars have interpreted and emphasized Zarruq's teachings. So he didn't actually, I have a quote right now as well, but he didn't actually criticize Ahmad Zarruq himself, but the interpretation of Zarruq's teachings. This is what the Darqāwiyya and here, especially Ibn ʿAjība says. Ibn ʿAjība says, writes in...
Really, half a second.
Please, yeah. Half a second, okay. Some jurists say Sheikh Zarruq is the supervisor, muhtasib of the Sufis, but I say that he is the supervisor of the external Sufis, those devoted to outward worship and visible piety. As for the people of the inward path, the people of spiritual training, he is not their supervisor, for his knowledge does not encompass theirs. I heard the Sheikh of the Sheikhs of spiritual training in our time, Mawlay al-Arabi al-Darqāwiyya al-Husayni, may God be pleased with him, say, Sheikh Zarruq is a great figure among the people of the outward, but a small one among the people of the inward. So this is what he said. The other ones we can skip, the other pages we can skip to sum up. The hostile situation against him kind of proved what they were doing, wearing the beads, the rough clothes. So they wanted to do something which would allow them to encounter their own ego, and that they confronted the scholars and the politicians was actually in this sense exactly what they intended to do. They didn't want to confront others or to enrage others, but they wanted to confront their own ego. But proving this, they showed what they intended to do. Yes, and more of that in the questions maybe. Thank you.
Thank you.